Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today's topic is a good one, and it has to do with jig fishing. And I know pretty much everyone out there likes to throw some form of jig, whether it's a swim jig, a football jig, a flipping jig, whatever the jig is. Most fishermen out there have thrown jigs in some form or fashion. But today's question is going to come down to the way you tip your trailer on your jig. I want to know how you prefer to do it. Do you prefer to thread your jig trailer up the shank of the hook like such, or do you prefer to nose hook your jig so that your trailer is hanging, further off the back? You can see in this case, I've got this one nose hooked, this one threaded. You can see just the difference in appearance that they make. I mean, this is a full-size Scott Canterbury flipping jig by Dirty Jigs, and this is the Matt Herron flipping jig by Dirty Jigs. Both of them have really a similar profile, but just by putting that trailer on, nose hooking it or threading it up gives it a drastically different appearance. So I'm curious, do you guys think that there is a better way to put your trailer on? And this is something that you only really see when you're talking about the chunks. This is a Berkeley chunk on the back, the power bait chunk. It's just, you don't hear people talking about it when they're threading on, say, some sort of creature bait or a craw bait or a beaver style bait. They always thread it on, but you don't hear about people nose hooking it. So I'm curious, why is it mainly a chunk issue versus a different style of trailer? Now, I personally like to use both styles. I like to thread my bait on, and I like to nose hook it. And here are the differences why. The biggest reason is if I thread the trailer on, I get a much more compact profile. So that does a couple of things. Obviously, it gives you a more compact profile. It makes it a smaller bait. The biggest issue that will occur because of this, though, is I get a faster fall and I'll get more gliding motion out of my bait. It won't fall straight vertically. You'll get a little bit more gliding motion to the side. And that's because my bait is a compact, streamlined bait. With the nose hook trailer, because you get significantly more drag in the water, your bait is bigger and you get more drag from your trailer, you're going to get a slower fall, but it's also going to be much more vertical, straight up and down, because as soon as that bait comes up over whatever it is, the trailer grabs more water, creates more drag, and then the bait will just fall straight down with it. Now, there's times I prefer to have both of those falls. With a more compact bait, obviously if I'm fishing in a scenario where I want a compact bait or the fish are short striking, so say around the spawn period, when that's the case, I prefer to have my bait threaded on. I get a lot more fish grabbing the trailer in the spring if I'm nose hooking it. So during the spring period, I definitely prefer to thread it up. But if I'm fishing docks, I prefer to thread it up as well because I want more of a little bit more gliding motion, and I usually want a faster fall when fishing around docks, especially if they got decent depth on them. So if you're talking 4 to 15 feet of water, I prefer to thread my bait on for the same reason. When you're talking specific jigs, I do choose to thread it on more if I'm dealing with a compact jig, so a smaller profile again. If I'm fishing a football head jig, so I'm dragging on the bottom, generally I'll thread it on because it does a couple things. If I'm fishing a football, chances are I'm fishing deeper, my bait falls to the bottom faster, and again, it's more of a compact profile. So if you've got, say, a 3/4 ounce football jig and you've got a bigger trailer, that's a heavier bait for a fish to suck in. So in order to suck that whole bait in, they have to get down closer to the bait. I like that compact profile of a threaded on trailer because now the fish is just closer to the hook versus when you've got a nose hook trailer, that fish can come up and suck from a little further away, and they're only going to get the tail. So I feel like I miss more hook sets from fish that are short striking my bait when I'm using a football head jig and I'm nose hooking a trailer. So I definitely prefer to thread it on when I'm throwing the football head jig. When it comes to threading or nose hooking my trailer, one of the times that I very much prefer to nose hook it is if I'm fishing a chunk style trailer on a swim jig. And a lot of that has to do with the fact, again, because it's dispersing more water, I can keep my swim jig higher up in the water. So if you're trying to do something like the Alabama shake, where you're just popping your rod tip trying to get your bait almost to hover and float, it's easier to do it with a nose hook bait than a threaded on trailer. So if I'm throwing a chunk on a swim jig, I'm always nose hooking it. The same goes for if I'm fishing in the summer and I'm trying to create a bigger profile, I'll go with it. And the same goes again in the winter. I'll nose hook it generally because I want a much slower fall. I'm really trying to work my bait in and around whatever, logs or rocks that I'm fishing. And I feel like, that bigger profile will attract bigger bites that I get in the winter months. So for me, there very much are there are different times when I prefer to thread a jig on versus nose hook a trailer on. I think it's something that a lot of people don't pay attention to, but you will get drastically different falls out of the same jig with the same trailer if you thread it versus nose hooking it. So I'm curious, guys. I want to know what you think. Does it not matter? Because I will say, probably 50% of the time, it probably doesn't matter. That fish would bite it regardless. But I do think there are times it may get you 1 or 2 extra bites during the course of the day. So what do you guys do? Are you a threader? Are you a nose hooker? Do you think chunks don't work? Would you rather use a different style of trailer? And if you do use a different style trailer, do you nose hook it or do you thread it on? So guys, thanks for watching. That's my question for you guys today. I'm curious to see what you have to say. Stay tuned. We got more tips and tricks coming out in tomorrow's video. And thanks for watching. And if you're looking for either jig, guys, go to the description and my link to thereelshot.com. Use the discount code STEFAN10 to save 10% off your order. They have both the Canterbury flipping from Dirty Jigs and the Dirty Jigs Matt Heron flipping as well. Both phenomenal jigs. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video.